Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today and Tarot. My name is Mel Rose. This is the Tarot portion in the second half of my daily astrology vlog, which you can check out on my other channel, Astrology Today with Mel Rose. Here, I will discuss the tarot card that sits on the side of the page. Then I'll do a quick review of the day's aspects before I play another card that may give us something more to think about. So let's get into it. The card that currently sits on the side of the page is the Ten of Pentacles. And the Ten of Pentacles is here because it relates astrologically to the final 10 days, or the third decan of the sun's transit in the land of Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign, and pentacles or coins in tarot represent earth element symbolism as well. And earth element symbolism is about the physical resources that we have at our disposal and what we will do with them. What kind of labor are we willing to do? What are we willing to give to have the security, the sense of security and stability that we seek in our lives? And so we come to the Ten of Pentacles. And this is sort of an end of a path here. The 10 represents an ultimate expression of material satisfaction, or I should say material fulfillment, ultimate fulfillment of our material needs. How about that? So you see, in the center of the card here, we've got this person who, they remind me a little bit of the magician, the way they're, forgive me, friends, the way they're dressed, with a staff in their hand. So you get this scene that's a little bit like a homecoming. And, they're being met there at the door, at the archway to their home by perhaps a parent or a grandparent, and perhaps a spouse and a child and a couple of dogs, which represent loyalty and familial closeness. But what is really being pointed to here is not just that the family is there, but that we are able to support the family in, like a house with a roof over our heads and with floors, and everybody's got the clothes they need, and everybody is being fed what they need to be fed. Like, we all have the support we need. We have everything that we need, and also some of the things that we desire. We don't have to worry so much about juggling our finances at this time. It's also an indicator of good health. It's also an indicator of receiving an inheritance, or sort of the legacy that you want to create for future generations in your family or in your community. Okay, so this is the fulfillment of a journey. It's the end point, a sort of culmination point, and it's a really joyous scene, to have your family sort of gather all around you as you arrive there at that place of very good material support that you have built for yourself through effort and determination and wisdom. So if that's you, if you're living the Ten of Pentacles life, you've got all the resources you need, and you're able to gather your family around you and feel happy and well supported, as though you all have everything you need. I wish you congratulations. That's a really great place to be. And understand that it does represent the end of a cycle here. So, at some point we're going to have to take what we have here and sort of gather it together and reinvest it in a new adventure. Now, that doesn't mean like a new family or a new house necessarily. Just, like, what is the next step for us? It's time to be giving some thought to what the next sort of material or financial quest is that we're going to go on. And with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle some cards while I remind myself, and the cards that the sun is in Virgo today. Sun in Virgo, our work, social, and civic lives are all about rearranging material resources, dispersing money, dispersing time, dispersing resources and labor, effort, in such a way that we can solve problems for ourselves in our lives, so we can, get some goals done, and also perhaps be prepared physically in our lives for the coming months, which are going to be colder. We're at the end of the summer and we're about to enter autumn. So we're very much, thinking about the integrity of our homes in the face of the cold weather coming on, and also just making sure we have everything we need, with the changing of the seasons coming up as well. Venus is also in Virgo, so in our financial lives, in our romantic lives, the investments that we make from the heart, investments of time, investments of money, they all have to represent some sort of increased security for ourselves, some sort of increased feeling of standing or stability out in the world. So, if the relationships we're engaged in or the investments that we're engaged in at this time, if any of them do not represent security for us, we're going to be very critical of them and maybe even lose interest. And then on the moon side of the page, moon moves out of Aries and into Taurus very early this morning. It's still a waning gibbous moon. So waning gibbous moon is a time when we are really sort of reflecting on how our last culmination went, so that we have some idea how we would not like to have things go next time. We can sort of start to look around us and in our home and in our heart and recognize the things that have got to go. Make that list, start piling things up toward the door. Aries in the waning gibbous might have put us, into full go mode with the releasing of things that no longer work for us. A little bit prematurely, because it's really with the third quarter moon that we start actively reducing those things. But that's okay if you got started a little early, pushing some things out because you knew you didn't really have to make a plan. You can just put it in the car and take it down to the place for donation, right? That's cool. Moon in Taurus is a time when we get to sort of slow down and follow through on the things that we started doing when the moon was in Aries, okay? So we can, consider our own comfort a little more. We can work at a pace that works for us and really be able to attend to the details of the stuff we're trying to do, which is a lot of sort of letting go, releasing of things that no longer work for us. And when the moon is in Taurus, we are grounded in that cozy home life. Moon goes into Taurus this morning at 6:39 Central Standard Time, friends. So we're grounded in that cozy home life, and that is the center from which we create our lives, right? The home life, the body, the home life, the people we keep close to us. That's sort of the reason for our efforts out in the world. A lot of the reason for our efforts out in the world, and also, sort of the place from which we create our best idea of ourselves and how our lives are going to look for us. So, like I said, it's that slow down and follow through vibe. There's probably some tidying up to do around the house so that we can have all our favorite treats and conveniences at hand as we settle into the work of deciding what it is that we have to let go of. And then on the sun side of the page, we have all ongoing stuff. Sun is quincunx to Saturn at this time. And so this is a feeling, a vibe of just a desire to maybe withdraw a little bit from outer life activities that seem to sap our strength, that seem to ask too much of us at this time. And perhaps, turning that outer life attention again back toward the integrity of our homes and, our physical ability to be secure and withstand the coming months in the cold. So be aware of that. It's really a withdrawing from outer life activities, but I can see us turning our attention toward sort of the inner life with that. And then we have, the kite that has been with us for several days. This is lovely. We've been flying a kite together for several days. The sun is in opposition to Neptune, while also Sun, Uranus, and Pluto are all trine together. So then Neptune is also sextile to Uranus and Pluto. It makes this kite shape, which is sort of an add-on to the grand trine shape. So the grand trine shape is this triple blessing where Uranus and Pluto are working together to bring surprising, delightful changes to our lives, real deep and total changes too, real endings and beginnings that represent sort of upgrades for us, that represent positive, new ways of being in our lives. But the sun in opposition to Neptune here is saying, I feel a little lazy, I don't know if I'm willing or ready to make the changes that it's going to take to bring me closer to, my ideal way of living, closer to my fantasy life, right? But Uranus and Pluto here cross that resistance line, and they say, yes, well, these transformations are underway. So, you either step positively in the direction of them, if you embrace the transformations that are underway. And if you don't, then the outcome is just not going to be probably as positive as it could be, right? We've got to accept the invitation, the call to adventure when it arises, or we're going to have a hard time of it. And then, so this says we may feel a certain resistance to trying to move with the flow. That's the sun in opposition to Neptune in the direction of our dreams. But the threshold into a new set of circumstances will be crossed. And the guidance is to step lively in that direction, okay? And then Mercury is opposite to Jupiter, and they can be really similar feeling, Neptune and Jupiter, because Jupiter just wants that expanded, like, you know, the Jupiter wants you to feel very well educated and very well traveled and have a lot of experiences that help you become a well-rounded person so that you can be, you know, generous with your time and your attention and help lift other people up as well. And that's kind of similar to, it can be kind of similar to what's going on with Neptune, where we just have this sort of fantasy or this dream or this ideal life that we wish we could be living. You know, maybe it looks like something out of a magazine or off of a, you know, off of a Penthouse ad on YouTube, an ad for a penthouse on YouTube. But, you know, whatever that looks like, it might really represent that bigger, more expanded way of being in the world that Jupiter also represents. So Mercury's opposition to Jupiter here has been a little bit of feet dragging about, again, the changes that we might personally have to make, especially when it comes to our ways of thinking, our ways of speaking, our daily routine way of communicating with ourselves and with other people. We might have to make some changes in the way we think about things before we can really make that progress toward the bigger, better options for ourselves. And Mercury's been in resistance to that, right? Sun and Mercury both have been in resistance to doing the work to make the change. But here's Mars saying, yes, you can make this transformation at this time. And yes, now is the time to be transforming some of these unproductive habits and routines, right? And Saturn is Mars is trying to Saturn at this time too, which is a full on like blessings through work vibe. You know, if you just do the work, my friends, then, then the blessings will come down. Just, do a little bit of work because here's the thing, that good fortune from Jupiter, that ideal life that comes from, dreaming up what we would love to have through Neptune, those changes that we would like to be able to make to ourselves so that we can, live a more idealized version of our lives, they're going to take labor. Okay, those planets sort of match your effort. Okay, so you can have good fortune. You can only have good fortune insofar as you're willing to put a little work into it. And Mars trying to Saturn here is saying, yes, the work you put into things right now, it's going to pay back double, triple what you think it's going to pay back, just in terms of other kinds of capital. You don't have to necessarily just charge 2 or 3 times more than you do. But capital comes in many forms, and we get lifted up when we make the effort. Okay, and with that said, I'm going to put this card down here. We have the Page of Swords. Okay, so Page of Swords looks to the future. And swords are about, first I'm going to say Pentacles and Swords. So we've got earth and air. This is about our physical resources and the work we're willing to do. And this is about our mental faculty, our intellectual, our rational faculty, the thoughts and words that we use, the plans that we make. It's got a very Mercury kind of vibe. Page of Swords. This is funny. My wife always says it looks like he's wearing pizza around his neck. But then, she loves pizza and she would marry it if she could. So, aside from that, the Page of Swords represents sort of a youthful personality who's got some very good ideas, perhaps not a lot of experience with implementing their ideas, but very eager to share what they know, what they're learning, very eager to learn more information even, and very eager to try to implement some ideas, and kind of willing to fail at it a little bit too. This actually speaks to me of Mercury's trying to Mars here too, because Mercury is in Libra right now. Libra, air signs, right? Swords are air. That's the intellect. And Mercury and Mars are both in air signs right now. Venus rules Libra, but Mercury rules Gemini, where where Mars is hanging out right now. So, you know, this just says that, you know, action and ideas are really coming together at this time. We can take action on our sense of what is fair and true and right. We can be how do I want to say this? We can be active in making changes. Okay, for one thing, Mars in Gemini is kind of willing to do things a couple of times. So that's where I was going with the Page of Swords and Mars in Gemini, is that, you know, in Gemini, often things have to happen twice. And, you know, Mars is going to be hanging out in Gemini for the next 7 months. So whatever sense of initiative that we have about things here, whatever sense of wanting to make a fresh start on things, you know, we might be doing it from an inexperienced perspective, or even if we're not doing it from an inexperienced perspective, we may just experience the need to try something a couple of different ways before we get it right. We may need to find that we have to do something twice before it works for us. So, you know, there's that sort of try again element of the page that says, okay, well, maybe we don't know exactly what we're doing. We're going to go ahead and make this effort, this intellectual action, right? This effort. And if it doesn't work, then we're going to go ahead and plan and try something else. So, you know, intellect in action, what does that look like? That looks like investigating things. It looks like asking questions and doing research. And, you know, being very interested in all the information that we can, being actively in pursuit of further data. And also, you know, being willing to throw some bold ideas out there. You know, Mars is very courageous. Mars can be very original. Mars often comes from a very self-centered place. And so, you know, the benefit to that when Mars is in Gemini is that Mars can speak up. You know, Mars can help us speak up for ourselves. You know, when things aren't working, we can like, hey, let's back up and try this again. You know, we can actually, you know, speak up for ourselves or defend ourselves, do what we need to do, you know, to make sure our needs are met in these situations where we're trying new stuff. You know, and also Page of Swords is relating to the Mercury here. You know, Mercury has been in opposition to Jupiter, to this expansion, and it's kind of like we have this inexperience that tells us that that certain ways of thinking or talking or, you know, routine habitual ways of being are not really doing any harm to our ability to get along well in the world. But, you know, we are mistaken about that. Most certainly, if not, you know, in all the cases, in some cases, there are some ways that we can be taking action, trying again, doing something a little bit differently in terms of the way we think and the way we attempt our daily stuff that will better represent who it is that we would like to be than it does who we are now. The page has a future. He looks to the future. The page, you know, will perhaps one day be a knight, will perhaps one day be a queen or king, right? So we're, you know, we're looking to the future and trying to figure out what the path is from this inexperienced sort of intellectual position that has a lot of courage, but perhaps not a lot of maturity between those two planets. But definitely like a big idea of who they'd like to be and where they'd like to go. So, you know, be willing to make the changes, be willing to show up and make the effort, and be willing to use your, you know, your sword of truth to cut through the bullshit, even if it's your own bullshit. And taken together with the 10 of Pentacles, I see, as I was saying, you know, with the 10 of Pentacles, like this is the end of a path. This is the end of part of a person's journey in life. And that doesn't mean that, you know, after you achieve that ultimate material success, that doesn't mean that, you know, then you just grow old and die. Okay. And I think that's sort of like I don't know, that's been presented to me sort of since I was a child as like, you know, you work hard, you get old, you know, you hopefully have saved up enough money to have a retirement where you can sit at home and enjoy your family until you grow old and die, right? But you know, ideally, what it is that we meet these levels of ultimate success, ultimate expression of material security here, and having reached that, we look around and say, okay, now what else can we do? Okay, so maybe rather than, you know, staying in this 10 of Pentacles zone, we have a fresh idea. We want to look ahead to the future, right? We've already made this whole journey, and we've collected all of this support and this material security around us. And from that space, we can now sort of have a fresh idea. And it might not even be a very bright idea, or it might not be a fully fledged idea, right? We just have this spark, some idea of what we would like to do with this material success that we have had under our belt, what we would like to try to do going forward. It says, you know, Sun trine to Uranus right now, you know, I could really use a change in my outward life, in my outward perspective, and how I go about making my money, or how I go about just being in the world and the work, social, and civic spheres. I could really use a change. I'm going to try something new. And, you know, I don't necessarily know exactly what it is that I'm going to do. I'm going to need maybe some help along the way. I'm going to maybe need to try things a couple of different times. But by golly, I'm in a good place to make a fresh start, and so that's what I'm going to do. Right, so endings and beginnings, friend. That's that's the constant. Sun is also trine to Pluto, and Uranus is trine to Pluto. So there's a good deal of like change and endings and beginnings, like quick change and the changes that take a longer time to make, that have a deeper impact on our lives, right? So there's a good deal of that on the board, and there's a good deal of positivity surrounding those changes on the board. We've got these trines, we've got these sextiles. These are really well positioned, and they're being well aspected by the planets they're engaged with. So, you know, understand that it's good news. It's good news that this change is coming for us. It's good news that we get this chance to make a fresh start, that we've sort of reached a level of material security that we can move forward with a fresh idea and get started on something, a new adventure, right? Look into the future. How do we get from, you know, just having that security to, you know, actually having the political and social capital to lead other people as well. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about it today, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate your presence here. My name is Mel Rose, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow for more Astrology Today and Tarot.